Welcome to another edition of the Dental Today podcast. Thank you for stopping by. This is brought to you by labmediatv. My name is Hezekiah Morales, and here we go. Remember to follow us on social media at labmediatv.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Dental Today podcast. This is a special event, and you're going to know why in a couple of moments. But I'd like to introduce a gentleman who is the president and owner of the Denture Center, which is a network of clinics currently comprised of 3 facilities in the southwestern area of Ontario. He's also an extensive lecturer in North America and internationally, specifically on the topic of digital denture technology. Help me welcome Mr. Erik D. Kukucka. Erik, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, and morning it is. What time is it in your side of the planet?
It's 6:03. I've been up since 3:15. Got to the office at 3:45 today. So it's a rise and grind time during these times, and super excited to be here. Honored and a pleasure really to be on this podcast with you today. And so fortunate you were able to do it early for me. I think. When we talked about this idea, I said, hey, you want to talk about, work ethic and motivation and getting things done, and let's do it. Let's do it early. And so thank you for that. Super excited. So thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. It's a privilege having dental professionals with such passion and commitment, not only to their work, their craft, but also to the public, the patient. And that's something that I really got from you when we were speaking earlier. And I'd like to go into, the information that I have on you is very extensive. And I'd like to start with the following. Your father is a chef. And usually there is a strong influence of what the parents are into to the children, yet you took another route. How did you get into dental?
So it's interesting. So yes, my father is a chef, actually a master chef. The amount of accolades my father has is quite impressive, really, but a very, very humble man, and I learned a lot from him, and I didn't really want to take that path. It's interesting. I initially didn't want to take that path because at a young age, my father was never home, and I said, I'll never, have that life where I'm never home and I'm always at work. And unfortunately, I am finding myself at the office anywhere between 12 to 16 hours a day. So that part of my decision really didn't affect my future. However, we had a longtime family friend that was actually a denturist, and I really liked the lifestyle that he had. And really, that was my initial reason for why I went into this, believe it or not, was financial reasons. And my story really begins with my journey in George Brown College in my denturism diploma. And I actually hated it. Now, not a lot of people know that. I hated denturism for the first semester. And I went home for the holidays, and my father and my former mentor sat me down and said, you're halfway done your first year. You have rent you've paid for a year. You've already committed to this. Just go back and finish this year. If after that you don't like it, then by all means, you can quit. I don't know how, who, what, or why, but lit a fire under me, and I just went. And somehow, some way, I really became a leader in the classroom. And your best isn't good enough. And I'll never forget, I would tell myself, if the instructor asked me to make 1 bite block, I'd make 3. So I'd do the first one, I'd show it to them. How can I be better? Then I do the second and the third, because third time's a charm. And I did that for every single aspect of what I did when I was in denturism, from the second half of my first year all the way to the end. I worked in a in a dental lab in the summertime, so that allowed me to hone my skills on the technical side with efficiency and in a high production lab. So in school, they give you 3 or 4 hours to do a bite block, and, when you sit down in the lab, it's half hour per unit, right? So you learn to be pretty fast at what you do. So I was actually able to finish my third year requirements by the end of second year. So third year really gave me a lot of time to do more kind of research projects with the faculty, as well as, treat patients at a good pace. So that's kind of the journey of how this all started and why I got into denturism.
Wow. So not only did you become a leader, not only did you go to school not only once but two more times in terms of the assignments and everything that you did, but this led to the excellence to the point that it showed as you were also the valedictorian.
Yep, I was the valedictorian of the health science program. Yes.
Wow. So that opens the door for you to go into obviously your profession into the next level. How did this happen? Once you graduated, you moved into a new position. What was that like?
It's interesting. A lot of people don't know this story either, and people today call me Mr. Ivoclar. Everything Erik does is Ivoclar. That was actually my nickname crowned in the second year of George Brown College, and somewhat ashamed to say that a lot of people had posters of maybe some esteemed women or some of their favorite rock stars. In my condo when I was in Toronto, my room was filled with Ivoclar posters and pictures of dentures and the Candelar calendar for the Kunst Zahn Work competition. I lived, eat, and breathed removable. I lived and breathed teeth and dentures and became so fascinated, and it really became my life. And that was kind of my nickname and crowned me that. I'll never forget, I created an incredible relationship with a gentleman, Rob Muir, at the time was the national sales manager for Ivoclar. And just kind of through that, what we call networking and personal relationship, we grew. And just a little bit about how I kind of got in with Ivoclar was when they launched the Finaris tooth line, it was nearly 10 years ago, the first generation. We were all housed on a bus at a national conference to their Amherst facility when they announced the product. Thus met my mentor, Dr. Frank Lacello, was the director of removable prosthodontics for Ivoclar at this time, and he gave a beautiful presentation on the Finaris tooth line. And after the lecture, I kind of went up to him and I started talking specifics about the technique and the material and the science behind it. And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, I'm a Denturist student. You're a student. Well, how do you know all this stuff about these teeth and these materials? I said, I live this. I said, I've read all your articles. I know everything you do. We follow a lot of the techniques in our curriculum, which is based off the biofunctional prosthetic system. We're engaged by Ivoclar Vivadent. So he said, here's my card. I'd really love to stay in touch. So, graduated school and began working for my previous partner in his practice. It was a mentor, so a longtime family friend. And Finaris, the initial launch of Finaris was actually a global, I don't want to call it a failure, but really it kind of was. There was a little bit of an issue with the material science, and it became known that there was fractures and chipping and debonding and delaminating, just because it was the first material of its kind of a nanohybrid composite. I shouldn't say that. It initially started as Candelar NFC, which is nano-filled composite. So Candelar is as some of you may or may not know, is a very boutique Swiss brand. So things are taken into a little bit of a different type of consideration. It's not for the masses. It's more of the Rolls-Royce or that type of very boutique style brand. And those you don't know, Rolls-Royce takes 7 hours to stitch the steering wheel, right? So it's not half-hour units at Rolls-Royce. And that's kind of the philosophy, the Candelar. It's a Swiss art of prosthetics. So the initial launch of Finaris was actually beta tested per se through Candelar as the NFC PhysioStar tooth line. And it was quite a unique tooth line because it was the first tooth of its kind that actually had almost a three-dimensional shape to it and reduced interproximal margins. So you had a more of a crown and bridge type of, or a true anatomic looking tooth. So anyway, not to get too into detail, here I go off on a tangent here about teeth. We were having quite good success. And I had a random call from Frank Lacello and said, I've been hearing a lot of things about you in the industry with respect to Finaris, and you're having success. Would like to bring you down. So we had a meeting for 2 days about what I was doing, how I was doing. We had a 3-hour meeting about what I thought about the molds, how they could be improved. And I remember after the first half hour, he said, how are you still telling me stuff? I said, I told you, I live, eat, and breathe what I do. And that relationship just, it grew, it blossomed. And what they really found they liked in me is that I knew how to sell. And when I say sell, I don't like to use the word sell. I know how to provide options. And I know how to talk to patients. And it's great to be able to provide these life-changing procedures or to be an artist in what you do. but how do you sell that product, right? Because everybody wants to buy something, but nobody wants to be sold to, right? So it's the way in which that you do that. And that is in any business, whether you're a dental lab, you're a dentist, you're a prosthodontist, or you work at Walmart. Here's an apple. Everybody wants to buy it, but nobody wants you to say, here, buy this apple right now. It's really good. It's red. It tastes great. It's sweet. No. Hey, you should really try this. It tastes really good. I think you're going to like it, right? It's everybody wants to buy it, but nobody wants to be sold. So my first lecture, I believe it was in 2014 out in British Columbia for Sinclair Dental on behalf of Ivoclar, and things just grew. People saw what I had in me, and the relationship just continued. I'll never forget, and unfortunately, there was just some differences between my mentor and myself, and in 2014, I was making a very good living, and I learned a lot, but I decided it was time for me to go on my own because there were certain things that I wanted to change and who I wanted to be and the standards that I wanted to practice at. So we owned a small practice together that was a mere 650 square feet, and we parted ways, and I started my practice. And I went to Ivoclar, and this is you want to talk about how things happen for a reason. So I met with the guys at Ivoclar, told them what I was doing, and this is my new journey. And that was the first time I ever saw a digital denture from Ivoclar, and I had to sign an NDA, and Dr. Frank actually revealed it and said, to think that you and I talked 4 years ago, and here we are today. And I'll never forget that moment. And I said, it doesn't matter what time, who, what, when, where, or how, I want to be involved. So I started my practice. We started kind of the beta testing program. I grew my first practice 680% in the first year, doing that through strategic alliances with the dental community. And from that point, I then built a brand new 4,000 square foot facility. So today, I mean, not to get on a huge tangent really about me, because it's not really all about me, even though I guess it is about me today, but I don't like to really talk too much about me. So to make a really long story short, we expanded to 5 locations. I grew the business over 2,500% in 4 years. But it was hard to manage 5 locations, plus lecturing internationally, publishing articles, consulting, so on and so forth. So we scaled back down to 3 clinics. And that's kind of where we are today with our digital technology. It's just a little bit about my journey into digital. We started with outsourcing everything in a beta test to Liechtenstein. And then I started working more closely with the team in North America. And then we invested in our own technology here with different scanners, the scanners, the software with PM7, printers, those types of things. And that's how my relationship grew internationally. So once I started to communicate with the people in Liechtenstein is how really the relationship exploded exponentially. And then I got published internationally. I was asked to speak at the IDS. I showed the digital denture for the first time in Chicago with Bill Barton 2 years ago in 2017, Chicago. That'll be 3 years ago now. So it's just grown exponentially. And now, being part of the product development and research and development with the new Ive Ocean Disk, my relationship with 3Shape grew exponentially. I've had Mr. Rune Fisker here visit me at the Denture Center. I've had the head of research and development from Ivoclar Vivadent here in Windsor, Ontario. We've had a lot of people come internationally. I've also been certified. I'm the 32nd global instructor for Dr. Abe's suction effective denture concept. So I've been to Tokyo twice. I gave the keynote lecture on digital denture technology in conjunction with Dr. Abe's technique last year at the Japan Plate Denture Association. So that was a true honor to take an analog process and utilize it in the digital manufacturing and give a keynote speech in Japan, because the Japanese are really true craftsmen and artists and mastercrafts when it comes to removable dentures, It is an art form, and it is a science, and they are extremely analytic of what they do. So to do that was really a feather in the cap, as was IDS. I mean, lecturing at the IDS, I'd say probably the biggest thing in my career to do that before I was 30. So I'm 31, in case you don't know. I might look like I'm 18, but I am 31. So that's kind of what we do, and that's how I got to where I am. a lot of the things I did along the road, and I really want this message to be said out there, not for my own gratification. I gave a lot for nothing. And when I say nothing, I say that monetarily. But what I want to reiterate is that it wasn't all for nothing. It's because the relationships that I gained are actually priceless. And I find people too often always say, what's in it for me? Me, 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 me. I'll do this for you, but what are you going to do for me? My line was always, I'll do that for you, not a problem. Whatever you want, whatever you need, let's make it happen. And really, I wouldn't be where I am today with that type of mentality and attitude in this industry. And just, I feel that on a personal note, I've really climbed the ladder, to success, but truly by giving my all. And it was never, I can't, it's how can I? How can I be better? How can I do that for you? Not, I can't do it, I'm tired. It's no excuses. And really your best is never good enough. And, yeah, did I do the IDS? Yep. Did I do product development for Ive Ocean? What's next? What's next for me, right? That's always, every single day I wake up is yesterday's gone. What's tomorrow? What's the next day? So that's the path. That's the journey. That's kind of where we are today. So we have 3 locations. We have a team of 12. Excuse me. We'll see where things go. But we've really been able to integrate the digital technology. And I do want to say this, and I want to make this point very clear. If I had digital technology to where the capacity of it is today and the integration that it is today in our business, I would have never sold those 2 locations that I had. The issue was maintaining process, procedures, protocol, efficiency. And unfortunately, in an analog world, can you do it? Yes, you can. Can you do it as efficiently, as cost-effective? Absolutely not. It's virtually impossible. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Pardon me. It's virtually impossible, no pun intended, to really do that. And we look at how we live our lives today with technology. Could you imagine trying to run a business by sending letters through the mail? No. Everything is instant. How fast? Come on, right? So that's how I got to where I am today, and that's how I got to where I'm going to be tomorrow, next year, and for years to come.
Very interesting. So had you those tools, those digital tools, we would have been having a conversation of you having 5 clinics rather than 3. Is that correct? Or at the very least, it would have been a possibility. Very interesting. Now, are you? Because I do know that based on our conversation here, you are highly entrepreneurial. Are you looking to continue to open up more clinics, or are you looking to grow what you have now and continue lecturing, or what's? And I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I usually like to touch on what you're going to do in the future at the end of my chat, but this is very interesting to me.
So yes, we do have plans to expand and continue. So first and foremost, we will always continue to grow our current business, our core, but we do have plans to expand. We are looking for talent right now. Whether you're a dentist or a denturist or even a dental technician, we are looking for talent. Because without a strong team, you can never grow. And yes, we are looking to expand, and we are looking for talent. And so I hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. Your process going from school, going into one of your mentors' place of development, let's just call it that, because I've never believed it's a job, right? It's a place of development. We just decide what we develop, right? Then you decide to take another direction in terms of certain personal standards to grow certain things. You begin to speak, you begin to grow the business to a point that, I mean, it's radical numbers, 5 offices. Then because of all these engagements, you decide to step back and bring it back down to 3. I believe you sold those other 2 practices. Is that correct? And so you sell these, focus on developing what you're doing here to the highest degree of excellence. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, this global crisis, it is 6 o'clock in the morning. You are not at home. You are in one of your offices not because you're going to do a podcast, but because you're there to get it done. Roll up your sleeves and get it done. What has been the driving force in your accomplishments up to this point, and that lead you to continue to go up the mountain?
So it's interesting. The one story I didn't share, great question, great lead in. The one thing I didn't share about how I got to where I am today, and people don't know this either. When I started out, when I left in 2014, I was $180,000 in debt. So the first thing I did was I crushed it, and I worked as hard as I ever could, and I paid that off. And then acquiring many locations, even though you have good cash flow, sometimes your expenses can get really high. And when you're having a difficult time managing certain things without the technology, as I mentioned, there's shortfalls. There's shortfalls in managing people. There's shortfalls in managing a business. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much help you hire, how much consulting you have. Sometimes things just don't go their way. I'll never forget, I then became $225,000 in debt into a line of credit, and the bank said, if you don't put up $60,000 of your own money by the end of the week, you're done. So I went back in the lab. I took every single work pan on the shelves and I lined them up all the way around. I worked 22 hours straight for 2 weeks. I paid down $150,000 of that debt in 2 weeks. So my message here is that there's always a will, there's a way if there's a will, and you should never give up. And had I given up, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'll tell that story to anybody because I'm not ashamed. I'm actually proud that I didn't just cry to the bank or say, give me more, give me more. And I remember that was the last phone call. The phone call started when it was hitting 175, 180, and I said, don't worry, we just bought another location. This happened, a lot of expenses, but then it just gets ahead of you. So we had the work on the shelves. It was the time and just being scattered, right? So that's what I did, and I got out of that after a month, and here we are today. So back to your question, why am I here at today, 3:45?
What's that driving force? Yes.
That driving force, it's funny. I'm usually, on average, I'm up anywhere between 4 and 5 on most days. And since coronavirus started, actually, an internal clock wakes me up between 3 and 3:15 every day. The driving force behind why I am still going harder than I ever was before was because this will be over at some point in time. We don't know when exactly. Is it next week? Is it next month? Is it in 3 months? But it will end at some point in time. But what I'm doing and what's driving my passion and my vision right now is that I actually never have enough time. And the only thing we can't buy in this world, regardless of money, intelligence, or talent, is time. So I am capitalizing on this, what I feel and hope, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And when I say that, is because I never want to see this type of torture and just disparity happen ever again in this world. But I have a hard time even trying to take a day off in the daily business. If I go away for a weekend, I feel guilty. I've now been given an opportunity to have, currently we're shut down until at least the end of April, so I have now an entire month to work on my business. Hey Eric, no patience, no distractions. You got a month to do what you do best, day in and day out. I am taking full advantage of all this with my team. Unfortunately, we had to lay off a few team members, just of course based on costs, and there's no money, really revenue coming in right now. So everything that I'm doing is an investment in myself and in my team. So we have 3 key team members on, and all those templates, all that scheduling, the website, the logistics, the material lists. We're digitizing all of our order forms. We have spreadsheets coming out the wazoo right now in the last 3 weeks, because what we all need to know, understand, and remember is that when we're allowed back at whatever capacity it is, I'm ready to hit the start button. And I'm ready to grab my team and say, let's go. And however, I don't have a wife, I have a girlfriend, I don't have children, I don't have a lot of responsibilities that others do, and I commend a lot of people that are now taking this time. Maybe it's the opposite for them. Too much time at home, or excuse me, too much time at the office, not enough time at home. And maybe they're rekindling that relationship. But what I'll leave you with saying this. You don't have to work 12, 14, 16 hours like I am every day, but that's just me. I built an online education platform in 1 week. Why? Because I have to also look at how am I going to diversify myself if this goes on for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, right? What am I going to do for my profession and my industry and my colleagues? Because this isn't all about money. I can tell you, I make more money being in my practice and treating patients, right? Education, and I laugh at this, is people say, oh, you make all this money lecturing. Do you know it actually costs me, if I know what my time's worth per hour. So if I was to build these companies per hour for me to do a presentation, it's anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. Why? Mm-hmm. Because of the hours that we put into the photography, what I pay for the videographer, this gentleman from Presidential Productions, good friend of mine, Remy, I'm the director, but he's the master behind the lens, right? And then we put it all together, but that costs a lot of money. The photography costs a lot of money. And my hours to put all those keynotes together, I make all my own keynotes. Every slide is done by me, and I almost try to make every single slide as if it's a national campaign ad. And I get fixated on it. So what I do and put into education, there's really the monetary value is not there. It's my gift, what I feel that to the profession and the industry. Having said that, we don't know where things are going to be and how we're going to diversify ourselves. So what I've been doing in the last little while is 3 tiers of operation. So if we go back to work at this capacity, this is our plan. If we go back to work at this capacity, this is our plan. If we go back to work at this capacity, this will be our plan. So we have 3 strategies that we've built to disseminate when the button hits go. Okay? I'll leave the audience with this. Even you all are at home. We all can find the time. I want to teach you what we call strategic thinking. You should be every single day taking 15 to 30 minutes and doing strategic thinking. Take your phone, flip it upside down. Take your email, shut it off. Grab a pen and a paper or type it. Strategic thinking. How can I make my business better? How can I be better in my life? How can I become more profitable? How can I be a better clinician? So on and so forth. What am I going to do to make the staff better today? How are we going to implement this? How are we going to implement that? Okay? I'm coached by one of the number one business and wealth coach, JT Fox, and I learned that from him. And I will never forget strategic thinking because I can't tell you how much you can actually accomplish in that 30 minutes and what you accomplish, okay? And the last thing that I want to talk about is there's 12 things that require 0 talent. Anybody can do what I'm going to tell you right now, okay? And this is from JT. It's not mine. I'm not claiming it, okay? Being on time. You actually don't have to have talent to be on time, okay? Strong work ethic. Your best isn't good enough. A great attitude, great energy, body language, be passionate, be coachable. How many times do you find in the dental industry, someone comes out with a technique, nah, that's not right. No, that's not. Hey, you should do it like this. No, you shouldn't. Right? Be coachable. Okay? Right, wrong, or indifferent. Gather the information, process it yourself, and come up with your own conclusions. But always question the source, right? Well, who said that? Why? Well, what's the science behind it? Right? Not just, nah. Right? When full contour zirconia came out, if the companies weren't coachable by the industry, we wouldn't have the high translucent zirconia as we do today with the megapascal strengths that they have. Now, I'm not in restorative dentistry or crown and bridge, but I'm telling you that type of analogy, and that's not even my world, right? So if these companies weren't coachable, they wouldn't be where they are. Be prepared. You and I had a pre-recording yesterday. We went through the questions on Monday. so that I could be prepared and that you could be prepared. So that I'm not sitting here saying, let me grab that. No, you were prepared. We met 15 minutes early today, right? There's no talent, no excuses. I can't, I won't, maybe tomorrow, maybe next time, maybe next year, right? Going the extra mile, and the last one is the best one, saying thank you. Say thank you. Those people's reactions, thank you so much. Oh, you're welcome. Wow. Right? Being nice actually isn't hard. And I don't want to get off a tangent, but I find it funny. You know, these people, they call in the customer service, and I'm going to yell at this person because my cell phone bill this, and I want to speak to your manager, and I don't know. It's like, so you think that person is actually going to want to do something for you when you're yelling at them? Why? Thank you so much for taking my call today, Mrs. So-and-so. You know, I really have an issue with my invoice. I'd really love to discuss with you. I've been a customer a long time. I'm just wondering if there's really anything that you could see that you could do for me. The bill's really high. The roaming was crazy. I really wasn't paying attention. Well, you know what? We have this forgiveness program, sir. We'd be more than happy to take care of that for you. That's how that goes down. But if you take the other direction, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Same at a restaurant, right? So those are just a couple things. And really, like I said, with coronavirus, you should all be taking at least an hour a day. Work on your business 1 hour a day. Your website, your processes, your systems, your protocols, and your team. And how are you going to get through this? Because I can tell you right now, the reset button that gets hit, it's not going to be, okay, everybody go back to work, same sterilization protocols, you can see 20 to 25 people a day, hygiene can run nonstop. It's not going to be like that. And as much as we're in a health and wellness industry and people want to feel good, dentistry, in my opinion, is a lacked personal want by many people. A lot of people don't value dentistry. That's why there's so much terminal dentition out there. And a lot of it comes from fear of dentistry. Fear. And if you don't know what fear stands for, it's false evidence appearing real. Okay? So there's a fear in dentistry, whether it's cost, pain, okay, time. But people will now have a new fear of dentistry. Right? Because the risk of contaminant, of coronavirus, right? So the first thing someone's going to want to do is open their mouth and have someone 6 inches away. Maybe not. So how are you going to diversify yourself? What are you going to do to market best practice? Is it we have optimal sterilization in our facility? You know, your health is our #1 priority. Maybe it's not so much about smiles. So maybe the branding has to change, right? So this is how we need to be thinking right now. Vertical thinking, okay? It's extremely, extremely important. So take an hour a day, ladies and gentlemen, or 2 hours, but start with 1 hour. Because when we come back, not if, when we come back, it will be a different world. And we need to adapt, improvise, and overcome. Those are the 3 things that you need to focus on. Adapting, improvising, and overcoming whatever challenges come your way. And communicate with your team. You should once a week be sending an email out to your team. Guys, I hope you're safe. It's unfortunate situations. We're still working hard. We hope to get back better than ever. Wow, that's so nice of them. Positive reinforcement. All right, I'm done coaching.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Erik, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been awesome listening to your journey, the stories that no one had possibly heard before, but now they're hearing that on the Dental Today podcast. And we hope to have you back on sooner than later. Hopefully, when this is all over, we can sit down and have other conversations. But I'm very intrigued by your story, by what you're doing, and I can't wait to continue to see what you're going to continue to accomplish.
Let me leave it with one last statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think a great podcast series that you're going to have is how did I survive the coronavirus? And what did I do? So you're going to have a long series of podcasts with dental professionals. But I will say this, and this was also from my coach. It doesn't matter what you've done for yourself, how many lectures you've given, how many articles you published. What you do and who you are during the coronavirus is what's going to make who you are as an individual in everyone's eyes. Were you greedy? Were you selfish? What did you do? What did you do to better your profession? What did you do to better your industry? What did you do to better your team, better your business, better your quality of life, better your family? Did you sit at home watching Netflix all day, every day? The only time I watch Netflix is at night with my girlfriend, and I fall asleep in about 10 minutes because I'm about 14, 16 hours in by then. But be the change you want to see in the world. That's it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you, Erik. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard him here on the Dental Today podcast, and we will see you on the other side.